Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to WrestlingGab. That's Dalethea. I'm Travis, and it's time for Full Gear
Pay-per-view
Prediction Show. Sorry that we're so late.
Yes.
People still hanging out in here.
Sorry that we're late. That's my fault. You know, life. Shit. All that
right.
fun stuff.
Should we get right to biz?
Yeah. We can say hi to a couple people, I guess. We got
Hey,
Guy Dawson in the chat. We have Josh out there.
Josh.
We have Amy Smith in there.
Hey,
and we
Amy.
also have Aoife with us right now.
Hey, Aoife.
Hey, all of you Gabtards. How's everybody
It's a
doing
little bit
today?
earlier for them
Yes. For some of them,
in
yes.
Ireland.
So, which one do you want to go over first for the matches? Or do you want to say what matches are happening and then we go back and say what we think who's going to win?
All right. Well, we don't know the buy-in.
True.
And I haven't looked as of today, like right now, you know, like,
right.
So last night I did not know.
So the buy-in used to be Orange Cassidy versus John Silver, one of the Dark Order people, number 4. But Tony Khan changed that to them being on the main card, and he was working on getting another a match for the buy-in part.
All right.
Oh, looks like we have Ayla in with us too. Hey, Ayla. All right. So do you want to say the matches first?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get there.
And then go back?
Right.
Okay. Do you want to say them?
You're going to do it? Or...
I can do it. So the main card for Full Gear are as follows. The singles match between Orange Cassidy versus John Silver.
No stipulations, just a match.
Just a regular match. A singles match, this one does have some stipulations. This is Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins, he can join the Inner Circle. Ooh, yes. I bet he's excited about that.
Going to be exciting.
Yeah. And then we have the Elite Deletion match between Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. So we already saw that. Hopefully that's still happening. I know that Sammy came out and attacked Matt.
I'm sure it'll still happen.
They had a lot of people out there. People were worried he was hurt. They also are going to have the AEW World Championship Eliminator final. That's going to be between Hangman Page and Kenny Omega.
Should be a great match.
Mm-hmm. They have the TNT Championship up, which is Cody Rhodes as your champion versus Darby Allin. They've been doing that for a while, so I could imagine that that's going to
come to a head.
Come to a head finally. They have the AEW World Tag Team Championship happening also. The champions FTR versus the Young Bucks. They have that one does have a stipulation on it. The stipulation is the Young Bucks said if they lose, they will never, ever, ever go after the tag team championship titles ever again. Ever. Then they have the AEW Women's World Championship up this weekend also. Hiraku Shida is the champion versus Nyla Rose. We haven't really seen a lot of the women's matches, so it's kind of interesting how that's going to play out since we haven't seen much of that happening. Their feud anyways. And then we have AEW World Championship, an I Quit match. Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. Jon Moxley's your champion. All right, and I'm guessing the I Quit match doesn't necessarily mean they're like leaving wrestling or anything like. It's like they have to say I quit
to lose.
Or whatever.
All right, with that first match, we got Orange Cassidy, John Silver. Who you got?
I'm going to say Orange Cassidy as my choice.
Right, I feel like Orange Cassidy is a star, or at least a semi-star in the company. And John Silver, it's good to see him getting a pay-per-view shot. Some TV time on a pay-per-view.
Right, instead of being all grouped together in one grouping of the Dark Order.
But the fact is Cassidy is the better wrestler there, so I'm also going to go with Cassidy.
Oh, right, okay.
On there. Not a lot to talk about there. There's not a lot of build-up. I mean, they did a little bit last night, but nothing huge.
Nothing great.
All right.
Did you want to do them in a certain order?
Just keep going.
The next one is the singles match, the MJF versus Chris Jericho. If MJF wins, he can join the Inner Circle.
Right.
I'm going with Chris Jericho winning. I just don't think that MJF is going to win, and why on earth would he want to join the Inner Circle?
Right.
I don't get that.
I have a feeling MJF's going to win, and then there'll be more drama played out with the Inner Circle. So we are definitely going different directions on that one.
All right.
But that story's been going on for a while. That's the comedy, and hopefully they leave a lot of that comedy out for the pay-per-view. It is very entertaining for TV, but I don't know if people want to pay to watch it. If you want to pay to watch comedy, you'll go ahead and rent a comedy show on Netflix or something. But
right.
For the most part, I would assume that there's going to be some more drama in there down the road. I don't think it's over. And that's why I believe MJF will join the Inner Circle, and then we'll see what happens, the aftermath.
Right. So the next one is the Elite Deletion match. That's going to be Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. So we know that this match has been like culminated for a while. This isn't something new. They've kind of had their little tiffs here and there. They had that big match where Matt Hardy was hurt. People got all fucking upset about it.
Powerbomb through a table onto the floor.
People were very, very upset. But I feel that AEW did exactly what they were supposed to do. And, what needed to happen, and they kept him out of wrestling, but he stayed around.
Right.
So he still kept his face there, which is what everybody wants to see anyways. They just want to see him around and that he's okay. And I think that's why they did have him talk to the audience and the fans about, everything that had happened. But now that he's perfectly cleared right now, I think that's, I don't know. I don't know if it's really going to be
the end of it.
The end of it? But
I believe this is over, and I believe Matt's going to win this.
You think they're going to give it to Matt?
I think
he's beat Sammy every time.
Yep.
Basically. I mean, when he got hurt, he beat Sammy.
That's what Sammy's there for.
He's there to just be thrown around. Well, he does have issues, so... Yes, I would probably have to say that Matt Hardy's probably going to be the winner. I don't know why they would never probably put him on a side where they'd be like, well, we're done with Matt Hardy. Let's get rid of him. They wouldn't have brought him over for anything but to put him out there for people to be like, yay.
And in the show, I believe this is where the next match would be where the Women's Championship comes in, but we can keep going in our order.
Oh, you want to do... We can do the Women's Championship one if you want.
It's fine.
Okay. So the next one is the AEW World Championship Eliminator Final. There's no stipulations on... There's not like any... It's just a regular match, right? There's no... Like... They can do whatever they want.
No, I'm pretty sure it has
there's
rules.
No rules or
You could
anything.
probably get disqualified.
Right.
I would assume. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And this has been building up since they were a tag team.
Right, yeah.
I mean, this is a really good storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's... And the thing of it is like, with Hangman Page coming out to kind of help, last night, the Young Bucks against FTR, even though the Young Bucks have been, like, super kicking everybody in the head and hating everybody.
All of a sudden, they flipped to good guys.
They're
Noticed that right before they faced the FTR. they had to put them as faces instead of
heels. They had to be nice again for some reason, or kind of nice. Not necessarily really nice, but nice enough, I suppose. Which is weird unto itself.
Right.
But, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win that. I'll just go with Hangman Page because I like Hangman Page better than I do Kenny Omega. Although Kenny Omega is a really good wrestler and there's nothing wrong with him winning.
He's the best in the world, and I'm going to definitely go with the best in the world. Kenny Omega is going to be the next champion.
Right.
Is my guess.
Probably. At least one of them.
But definitely going with Kenny for me. So this is kind of nice because we are definitely picking different wrestlers on this one. We usually pick around the same crap.
Right. Then we have the TNT Championship, which is between Cody Rhodes, the champion, versus Darby Allin.
Darby, the Sting Allin, hanging out in the bleachers up there.
So Darby has been promoting himself as the face of AEW for a while.
I think he's the anti-face.
The anti-face? Right, but he says he's the face of TNT or the face of AEW.
They won't accept him as the face.
Right.
And Cody's the one that had to fight for it and get him there. And so that's where the story was coming from. Is Cody, at least last night, right? Like Cody is like, hey, I had to fight to get you here. And they were still like, I don't know.
Right. So I'm not sure on that one. I'm really not. I don't know if they're ready to have. I mean, because it was awkward enough as it was that Cody Rhodes came back, and then he took the title away from Brody Lee immediately. It wasn't like it was like, oh, hey.
Any sort of feud, any sort of
work. It wasn't like he had to work for it, which I don't agree with that. I kind of felt that was kind of...
He probably dropped it to go do the stuff and then picked it back up with the knowing that was going to happen.
Right.
But it kind of hurt Brody Lee because we haven't even seen him really since
then.
then.
Since then, he's supposed to be the leader of the Dark Order.
Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's staying back a little bit.
Right.
Waiting for his next title run.
Right, which is a possibility. And, that buy-in one, maybe it might be... I don't know if Pac's ready to wrestle, but we do have Pac back.
I don't even know if he's really back in the United States. He could still be in Europe, and that's what the whole video was.
Right.
The, what the fuck moment of last night's show.
Right. but back to that TNT Championship for Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin. I just feel like... they want to just keep it on Cody Rhodes all the time. Like, right. And it's his title all of a sudden. Like, it's just his and his alone.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm fine with that for a while, too. But Darby Allin, this is like his second or third time trying to get that title.
I just want the kids that are watching, that are 7, 8, 9, to remember, like I did with Tully Blanchard. He is the television champion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, when I think of the television championship, I think of Tully Blanchard. Other people had it, but it was Tully's.
Right.
Just like Ric Flair was the world champion. Other people had it, but Rick was the world champion.
Right.
When I was a kid. And that's how this is looking. Cody's the television champion now, the TNT champion now.
Right. And I do expect that he'll retain. I mean, I'm not saying he's...
Cody?
Yeah, I'm going to say he's going to retain it. I'm not going to say that they're going to give it to Darby Allin. Not that Darby doesn't deserve, to at least try. But the problem with Darby is the fact that you don't see him wrestle anybody else. He's only been wrestling Cody for a while.
Shit and tag team stuff, ladder matches.
Yeah, and things here and there, but it's not like he's been like, hey, all of a sudden we have this wrestler we see all the time.
Absolute Ricky Stark, his little feud there for a while.
Yeah, and then they quit that because Cody came back?
No, not necessarily. That ended when it ended.
Right.
Darby won and they moved forward. Anyways, I'm going to go with, this one's the toughest one for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like all the other ones, I have my favorites. Mm-hmm. This one, I really don't know because if Darby won, it's a 50-50 chance.
Exactly.
But I'm definitely going with Cody because I just feel like he needs to be the
champion for a while longer.
Champion for a while. And he should have never left.
Right.
Plus, I'm reading his dad's book. And how he got his name. He got his name because he always walked on a dirt road. They didn't even pave it until he was like 17 or something. The road that he lived on. So that's why his dad always called him Dusty. And then the promoter knew the story. Dusty Road.
Oh my goodness sakes. Oh, the silliness of the wrestling world. All right. Anyways,
all right, what do you got next? We got AEW World Tag Team Championship, FTR versus the Young Bucks. Now, if the Young Bucks lose, they can never wrestle for the titles ever again. Same stipulation that Cody did.
Huh. So that would kind of defeat the purpose of them even being wrestlers anymore.
Cody still wrestles. Maybe they're going to get
United States. Yeah, but he's a champion of a different title.
Right. And maybe that's what'll happen with them. Maybe they'll introduce a second tag team championship.
Why would they have two, though?
Okay, so you're used to WWE stuff, but in the 80s, where these guys are reforming that NWA stuff, there was the United States Tag Team Champions and the World Tag Team Champions. Mm. And that there was the United States Heavyweight, or the United States Championship, and then there was the Heavyweight Championship. Mm. And the Television Championship. And you can kind of see that stuff forming, so hypothetically, it could happen.
Right.
But, I would say they should throw some belts at the women, too. But there's just no women. Like, the women's division, they just don't use that much. But as of right now, there is no women's division, really.
Well, they do have a women's division, but they don't put it on their main stuff.
Right.
It's all on their YouTube channel, on their Dark. It's not on the AEW main stuff on TV, which is really sad.
Right.
Because they're trying to promote their heels and stuff like that. And then if you're doing that, and you want women to watch, you better start putting women wrestlers out there.
Right. This is the best two tag teams of the last, decade? The last 7 years at least. Now you've got the New Day in there, and you've also got the Usos. Mm-hmm. But the New Day is a threesome, so I don't know if you can count that necessarily as a pure tag team, because if somebody was injured on the Young Bucks, they're kind of screwed. Mm-hmm. Somebody's injured on the New Day, they just refill the spot, like this last year when we had Xavier injured, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that necessarily counts, but the Freebirds were usually a 3-man team, and it worked for them, so that's why they call it Freebird Rules in the WWE. AEW hasn't done that yet. They haven't had the 3-man tag team yet, mm-hmm. but it could happen one day, like the Freebirds did. But as your standard tag teams, you've basically got the Usos, the FTR, the Revival, as they were known in WWE, mm-hmm. and then the Young Bucks, and that's your best tag teams, right? Like, can you think of another tag team? Anderson Gallo, maybe, but
they're not. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying. So these are the best 2 tag teams in the world, minus the Usos,
right?
And over the last 7 years. And that's what the culmination is. That's what's happening. That's where we're headed. So this is a huge match. This is probably the biggest match of the night. To be honest, it probably should headline it, since the main event isn't even that great. You've got a good talker in there, but once the match starts, what good does it do to talk?
Right.
So we know that one's going to be violent. It's going to be bloody. Mm-hmm. But this one is going to be the best wrestling match of the night. And it'll probably steal the show. I just don't see them taking the titles off the FTR. It's
I don't either. I don't know why they would at this point. I have no idea. So, yeah. So I'm actually going to say that they're going to retain it personally.
Right.
Not because I don't think the Young Bucks deserve a chance at it, but I just don't know.
I just saw Vin in there, and you know,
Vindicator says surprise.
Now I've got to go with FTR because Vin's in here, and we're talking about Tully.
Oh yeah, Tully Blanchard.
No,
gotta make sure he earns that paycheck. That swindling he's doing.
I would definitely go with the FTR anyways. By the way, I just don't feel like they're ready to take those titles off of them yet.
Right.
I wish this was like something special, like, you know what I mean, like a ladder match or something, because then it would put the Young Bucks at a huge advantage.
Oh, right. But they don't like that high-flying weird stuff, and so they just want it to be ground and pound regular wrestling type things.
And that's why they would have that afterwards, the heel excuse, right? Like they would lose because of the ladders and the tables and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they would be like, we want a rematch because we got screwed because of this flip. We want a real match. Kind of like the Randy Orton thing with Edge. Remember, I want a real wrestling match.
Right.
Type of scenario. Mm-hmm. And then they would get it back in a real match. But anyways, I'm definitely going with the FTR on this one. And then we can move on to the ladies.
Right. First thing, though, Josh wanted to ask a question of you, saying, do you think that they're going to have a surprise on AEW?
Absolutely.
Wrestler?
And I'll tell you right now.
No? Okay. With the Women's World Championship one? Mm-hmm. Is that what we're talking about? Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose?
For the Women's Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, for the AEW Women's World Championship. Yep. Is up. So, do you think that they're ready to put it on Nyla Rose?
So, if you want me to go into my already thing, or do we want to go ahead and go with the
No,
story?
Go ahead.
Okay, so what's happening is Nyla Rose is the number 1 contender.
Right.
Big Swole was the number 2 contender and had a title shot. A whole bunch of people have been getting title shots. They've been getting championship shots. Nyla hasn't had her opportunity, but now it's her time to get her opportunity, right? She's been a champion before.
Yeah, for 2.5 seconds.
And she did lose it to Shida. So what I believe is going to happen is she's going to beat Shida.
Okay.
Like, I honestly do. I think that she's going to win. And then I don't know exactly what's going to happen afterwards. Now, something exciting, right? Like, she's going to start beating her or something. And then cue the music. And then Tessa Blanchard shows up. I think that's going to be the big surprise that they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got Tessa Nyla going into the next year.
Oh.
Right into January. And then that February pay-per-view, which will probably be the next one, All In or whatever their February one is. I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, that's my prediction. So that's my surprise. That's my call on that. So I do believe Nyla's going to win because I believe they're going to have somebody come in
that can beat her.
That can get physical and play around rough.
Right. Anyway, so Vindicator said, ha ha, damn you, Travis, being on Tully bandwagon.
I grew up with Tully. Riding his coattail still.
Josh thinks the big surprise is going to be Sting. So that's him.
Sting, huh? Like to wrestle or just to show up and be on TV?
I don't know.
Because he's got a really bad neck. He broke his neck like, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke his neck. What's
and
his
it's
name
like a
did it?
bad
Seth
one.
Rollins.
Like, it's not a good...
Yeah, he dropped him on the turnbuckle, a buckle bomb, and
I wonder how good he feels about that. Just kidding. Anyways, Firestarter in the chat says, guys, do you think WWE versus AEW would be great at Survivor Series? No. And Ayla's like, the band Sting? Yeah, that's it, Ayla. The band Sting. You got it. Anyway, so I agree. I think that Sheeta's probably going to lose the title this time around just because it's Nyla Rose again.
So Sting was in a band.
Sting was in a band.
It was the Police.
Yeah.
But Sting isn't.
Not the same Sting.
Sting is a person.
Might as well be the band. Everybody only knows Sting. Might as well be the band.
Right. The Police is Sting.
Yeah. Well, we all know that only anybody out there just knows who Sting is. And I'm not talking the wrestler.
Yeah, the actual singer. But the wrestler Sting, is a stud.
Luke just popped in for
Luke,
1 second and said,
here.
I'm just here to say hi, and I was here. I'm busy in the zoo. See you guys tomorrow. All right, Luke, have fun in the zoo.
All right, so with the Nyla Rose and Sheeta, who do you got?
I said Nyla Rose.
Oh, you're going with Rose, too?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rose just because I think it's
time.
They're probably going to take it off Sheeta just because she's there.
I knew
it's inevitable at some point it's going to happen.
The other company is riding those Japanese women.
I know. They like them.
I mean, they're all over it. You've got NXT, you've got Raw. They both are, and I don't see it changing anytime soon for either of those two. I mean, Io Shirai challenged Rhea Ripley last night, and Rhea accepted. So they are going to wrestle here pretty soon. But I don't know if she's going to take it off Io. They haven't been pushing her like that. All right, so we got that. Anybody out there have any predictions? We definitely want to hear your predictions.
Yeah, Josh had all his predictions, yes. Guy's going with Sheeta on that one to win.
It's a good one. I mean, there again, the only reason I'm going with Nyla is because I feel like Tessa could show up.
Right. Let's see. Josh had said something about
NXT also has a show up coming up too, right? Like a surprise that was supposed to happen at that pay-per-view, and that could be Tessa, so I could be off. I feel like Tessa shows up to NXT and it changes their whole division.
Right.
Because then you've got, her, you've got Rhea Ripley, you've got a whole bunch of girls that can get physical. Raquel Gonzalez.
Right. So Josh was saying he's going with like Cassidy, MJF, Matt, Kenny Omega, I think was his other for the Omega match.
God, is he going with Cody and FTR?
Uh-huh. So his things were Cassidy, MJF, Darby, Matt, and Kenny.
I did not pick Darby. Okay.
Right. So far, and I don't know who he said for the women, if he said anything for the women.
All right. Well, let's hit the main event. Unless people are still chiming in.
Ayla's laughing. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry, Ayla. Don't die, okay? Slip of the tongue. Anyway, so the AEW World Championship I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. So I get that there's supposed to be like these brotherhood and Eddie's like, I deserve it and all this stuff, and it's like, I just don't think so. I think that I'm thinking Jon Moxley's gonna continue to keep the world championship for a while longer. I'm not sure they're ready to put it on Eddie Kingston.
This is the 99...
He's not the type of person I'd be like, yeah, put him as the title winner.
This is the 99.9% chance that Moxley's winning. There's
right.
This one is like kind of a fun little, somebody's going to get beaten up match.
Sorry, Ayla. I didn't mean to make you spit out your food. Anyways, we have RJ Charlton in the chat. Hey, RJ, how's it going?
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Firestarter's like, where's Aubrey? I don't know. Seriously. Aubrey is a ref.
She'll be all over this.
I'm sure she'll be everywhere on it.
So, I'm just going to guess a buy-in. just for fun, since we're done, right? I mean, you're picking Moxley, right? Like, right. Moxley, this wouldn't, I mean, we could talk about the build-up a little bit if you want to, but in reality, everybody knows that Moxley's going to win this.
Right.
It's just how brutal.
It'd be weird. I mean, Josh is even going with Moxley.
Yeah.
So.
But,
and Guy
Miro
Dawson
and
is.
Trent.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could do that one as a buy-in.
As a buy-in, because, you know, Miro's talking shit about Trent's mom, Sue, and,
right.
And Trent doesn't put up with anything about his mom. They love putting his mom in these character roles, though.
Poor Sue.
If she shows up in her new minivan, it'd even be funnier if it was the old broken-ass one. But I think they bought her a new one at the end of that.
They bought her a new one. They're like, we'll just buy you a new one.
Well, at the end of the storyline, remember, they got in the van.
Yeah, they got in a minivan and
it was
drove off into the sunset. Yeah.
But it would be cool to see her pull up in it. Like one with the top cut
So the
off.
whole thing with that reminds me of that stupid, I think it's a Geico commercial or a General commercial or whoever. I think
an insurance commercial.
It's an insurance commercial. And the mom is taking them to their band. Like in the bar in the middle of nowhere. And she's like, all right, you kids, you know, have fun.
You should play the cello or something.
She's like, yeah, you should totally play the saxophone or some stuff. And they're like, what? That whole like thing with the best friends and Sue, his mom, Trent's mom, Chucky T and Trent and his mom.
You're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing me.
Stop it.
Stop it.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Anything else we should talk about for the pay-per-view?
No, unless you had another thing for a buy-in, I guess.
I can't think of any other storylines that are important enough that they've used. There's nothing. I mean, the Inner Circle stuff, the Elite's all over this. The Inner Circle has that first part. I mean, they could do something, you know, that wouldn't even do that because that doesn't make sense. I was thinking of, what's his name? Jake Hager.
Yeah.
But he's beat up. Like,
yeah, he's beat up because he was in an MMA fight. So.
Right. So they're probably not going to have him in a match.
Right.
But I was saying him and Wardlow would be fun.
Right.
In a pre-show match, but that's more of a mid-card to a main event to me. But they could pull that off in there. But that's not, I just don't see that happening. So I think the Inner Circle and the Elite are kind of taken up. Now, you do have the Dark Order, and you do have John Silver, which will probably be the first match of the show anyways.
The Orange Cassidy versus John Silver.
And so you could see something with them, or like Anna Jay, Red Velvet or something. Just something different.
Right.
Maybe throw a women's match out there, which I wouldn't mind to see. Penelope Ford, Kip Sabian. You could do the Miro and Kip against...
Trent and Chucky T.
Again. Or something.
Kinda.
Something along those
Instead
lines.
of just one-on-one.
But I would assume it'll be closer to a one-on-one, because that one didn't really end right with Miro and Trent.
Right.
And, you know, he's still calling him names. So it's still going. That one didn't
Or he's
end.
Still being mean to his mom.
Right.
Josh said, it reminds me of the Shelton story where Shelton would bring his mom to the ring. I didn't know Shelton brought his mom to the ring.
That was a long time ago, I think. I don't barely remember that.
Anyways, Firestar, nobody was being rude. You can ask questions all you want. Doesn't mean I have to take them seriously.
What was the question?
I have to write. I don't remember.
Oh.
Anyways, Vindicator's like, if Tessa showed up on NXT, she would be dominated by Toni Storm or Raquel Gonzalez. So, yeah.
I don't think so. I think Vince will make Triple H push her hard.
They probably would, just because she's proven herself to be a good wrestler. There's no difference.
There was supposed to be a big surprise at that NXT Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
But there was a COVID thing.
Yeah, there was a unicorn sprinkles.
Right, and so it stopped it. But at the end of that match, somebody was supposed to be standing on the stage, and Io was supposed to be looking up there, and
that was
that's how it was supposed to end, right?
Right.
And so that's obviously means it's a woman,
right?
And so that means if that was Tessa, she's new champion soon. They would obviously do that, and then have her do it till maybe the Royal Rumble or something, and then drop it, and then move on to the main roster. Or she could just move on to the main roster, which Paige did, and I think Asuka did. They just gave the title up and moved on.
Right. Guy Dawson is saying that it's going to be Moxley, the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Shida, MJF, Matt Hardy, Cassidy, and Deeb. Are you saying that the buy-in is going to be Deeb? It's going to be Deeb? She's going to show up.
Who's
the NWO champion, Deeb.
Oh, Deeb. It could be a champion match in there, I guess. I forgot about her.
Is she going to be the buy-in or is she going to be the surprise? Because she's not going to be a surprise, because if she has the championship over there, there's no reason why she would.
Right. Yeah, so. She's not going to show up as a main roster person.
She's the new... Josh, Deeb is the new champion of... What's the name of that?
NWA.
Is it NWA?
Yes.
Okay.
She's the NWA World Champion.
NWA champion.
She beat Thunder Rosa.
She beat Thunder Rosa. And Josh is very adamant that it's going to be seen as a surprise. Anyways, fantastic. All right, so everybody, we're going to sign out. Those are our predictions for Full Gear.
Let's go through them real quick.
Oh.
You go through yours and then I'll go through mine, or do you just want to go through them one at a time?
I don't care. How do you want to do
just
it?
Start. You go first, I'll go second.
Okay, so I have to read all of them?
Just read one name.
One name at a time? All right, so for the match of Orange Cassidy versus John Silver, I'm going with Orange Cassidy.
I will also go with Orange Cassidy on that one. For the singles match, MJF wants to be part of the Inner Circle versus Chris Jericho. Who you got?
I'm going with Chris Jericho.
I'm also going with MJF.
There you go. All right, the Elite Deletion match is Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara, and I am going with Matt Hardy.
All right, I am also going with Matt Hardy. For the AEW Championship, it's Eliminator Final. That is Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. Who you got?
I'm going with Hangman Page.
All right, I'm going with Kenny Omega.
All right, the TNT Championship is Cody Rhodes, our champion, versus Darby Allin, and I am going with Cody Rhodes to retain.
I'm also going with Cody Rhodes. For the AEW Tag Team Championship, we got the FTR versus the Young Bucks, the best tag teams in the world. Who you got?
I'm going with FTR to retain their championship of their tag team titles.
I am also going with FTR.
All right. AEW Women's World Championship, Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. And I am going with Nyla Rose to win the championship off of Shida.
I'm also going with Nyla Rose. And Shida's probably going to win that.
Probably.
All right, for the AEW World Championship, it's an I Quit match. It is Eddie Kingston as the challenger versus your champion, Jon Moxley. Who you got?
I'm keeping the champion as the champion.
Absolutely.
Jon Moxley.
Jon Moxley.
Everybody loves him so much.
The only way Jon Moxley loses this if he has a heart attack right in the center of the ring. This is the same thing as the Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. The only way Roman was losing that is if he died.
True.
Literally died right in the middle of the match, and you're like, winner? They're like, we gotta stop this match. They might even still call it an incomplete. Like, that match never happened.
That's too funny. That's a possibility that it could happen like that. Vindicator says, all right, guys, I will begrudgingly be ready for SmackDown, aside from seeing the boss, of course. See you all then.
Right.
So he is going to see us
definitely remember, the pay-per-view is this Saturday.
Right.
At like 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Right. So Guy Dawson said his picks are Moxley, the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Shida, MJF, Matt Hardy, and Cassidy.
Oh, he's going for the Young Bucks.
And Josh's last one was Nyla. So he's going with Nyla to win on the Women's Championship.
Yeah, I think Nyla stands a big chance to win this.
Yeah.
This is her shot.
Yep.
It's the shot.
It is the shot.
The native beast.
And that's it. That's
all right, well, we're going to call it a night.
Or day.
So we will see you guys Friday.
Which is tomorrow.
At 8 p.m. Eastern, our normal time. And then this Saturday for AEW Full Gear.
That's right. AEW Full Gear.
Thanks for watching Wrestling Gab. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.